I'm a Kaiser native, so I've been here my whole life, and about the late 70s, I was captured by a musician who's from this town that played hammered dulcimer, and I say he captured me because I heard him play and I was mesmerized by it. In 1980, I moved back to this area from school and decided that I'd quit playing rock and roll for a while and leave the keyboards aside and go totally acoustic, and I built a couple dulcimers then off of a set of plans out of the from the Smithsonian. Over the years, I ended up just building a better one until about 1986. I was at a festival in Shepherdstown, and a friend of mine now that I met there asked me to build him a dulcimer. So I said, no, I wouldn't build one for anybody else. I don't know if I even know what I'm doing. But he was persistent, and after a while I ended up making him one, and then I started getting calls and more calls, so I spent more and more time in the workshop. So as it evolved, I ended up being a maker. All right, this is my shop. It all starts with a selection of wood, and like I said, everybody's wood pile is kind of their top secret. I got this, but there's probably several $1,000s worth of wood right there. As you can see, there's quite an array, and no wood goes to waste. If you cut a piece off of it, some the other day we use it. So I'm a notorious stash addict by just keeping every piece of wood I ever found. And here's one that's in production now. I've started this one, and it's not completed, but I'll let you see the guts, which is really top secret, but there's what you might find on the inside. Bracing and structure inside has to be enough to take the pull of the strings this way up to, and like I said, this one probably have about 1.5 tons of tension on it. So your maple braces across, that has to be really strong to keep it from folding up from all the pressure. I generally like to use some nice rosettes in them. These are laser cut. And this one is a particular neat species of wood called zebra wood. So this is going to be absolutely gorgeous when it's done. The soundboard is, you can see, is the speaker of the instrument, and this is the most important piece of wood in the whole instrument because it is actually what speaks. And this is a quarter sawn Sitka spruce. And the soundboard material, like I said, there's some redwood I've got up there, but the rest of it is airplane spruce, which is used in the spars of the old fabric-covered airplanes. Wherever you find it, old furniture sometimes is a good place to find good wood. I use recycled wood when I can. As you can see over here, that is a leaf out of a coffee table, a mahogany coffee table, which may end up being the back end of a dulcimer someday. You never know, because it's just wood. But this instrument, there's record of it back to 600 BC. And they believe that probably the first stringed instruments, of course, were the bow and arrow. And then later on, more strings added to make a harp-like instrument, but then laid down and struck. And that's kind of where this instrument came from. And records show that this instrument was used pretty extensively in what was Persia, which is Iran and Iraq these days. And through the Crusades, it spread throughout the world. It's called the Hackbrett in Germany, which means chopping board, because it looks like you're chopping when you're playing it. And it's a Yan Chin in China, and the Santur in Persia, where it came from. It was brought over on the boats when people were immigrating to America, and this became known as the lumberjack's piano, because they could take it around and play sort of like a piano on it, but it was portable. So in the pioneer days, these things were used in square dances. And matter of fact, Henry Ford was a hammer dulcimer player. In this area, there's a lot of traditional Appalachian music played. And it also is the notes from the Appalachian tunes fit right on this too. And that's where the community is around here with it, because a lot of these Irish tunes came over and got turned into fiddle tunes that were played at square dances later on. But there's a lot of people that you'll meet when you get in this type of music and you go play and everybody already knows the tune or their version of that tune. You can go anywhere and play now. I mean, the people already know a lot of them, or like I said, their version of it. And that's what's really cool to see how how people from South Carolina play, Ragtime Annie compared to somebody in Tennessee or up here in West Virginia. So. But basically, you have two bridges that hold the strings up. One passes over a bass bridge here and goes through the other bridge. And the elevation of the strings allows you to strike the string on either side of a bridge. Or if you're really good, you can hit two strings at once. The strings on the dulcimer are sounded by striking it with what they call hammers, because the hammer actually strikes the string. Now, the surface of the hammer and the weight of the hammer has a big influence on the sound that will come out of the instrument. Now, the tips of these are hard ebony, so it's going to be a bright sound because the ebony wood is hard. Now, this time I'm going to play with a double-sided hammer. This side's covered with leather and this side's covered with piano felt. The leather will give it a little bit softer sound than what the ebony did. A lot of makers now only use like 1 or 2 gauges of strings for the whole instrument. I probably use a dozen, just to keep an even tension on the instrument all the way across, and that makes the soundboard ring better. So over the years, I just basically watched a lot of instruments that I saw, went to a lot of festivals, studied how they were made, and come up with a lot of designs of my own. Basically trial and error, and a lot of time. It takes a minimum of 200 hours for me to build one. Basically, I build every one different. Every one I build a new dulcimer, and if you want them alike, you got to tell me. Okay, in the rosettes, I usually put my initials, which are S.A.R. Stephen Anthony Raschella. And if you see the S and the A and the R in that's in the rosette thing, but it's a lot of work. They're labor intensive, really. In 1980, when I started making dulcimers, you might have had $300 in the whole thing as far as supplies. But now you can't get just the wood for that. So there's probably 40 or 50 makers in the United States. And I see less of them being built now than when I started at Entity, and it's kind of faded out. It's kind of cyclical, I guess. They play a while and then it comes back, but it always comes back. That's what's neat about it. Seeing the look on their face when they play it, I'd live for that moment. You pull it out and they're, it's so beautiful, and then when they play it, it's just like, you can just watch it. You can just watch it get down to them. They love it. To this day, I think I'm still under 160 of them I've made, but I got them all over the world. That's kind of the legacy I want to do. Is 150 years from now, if one of my instruments are out there still being played, fine. If one of them broke and fell apart and they see my name on the inside of it, I live on. I have a habit of not looking in the camera, though. Yeah, we're in the studio now. That's where mistakes are made. Kids love it. They have no fear. If I'll play somewhere and lay the sticks down and walk away from it, there's going to be a kid playing that dulcimer, and they don't care. Yeah, the kids are not I mean, they're not put off by it at all. A lot of more adults are. They're like, you know, what is that thing? And I tell them, it's a huge cheese cutter.